Hey everybody, Mike again. So while I was editing my last video that I just made about Trae, I had the bright idea to take the code that it made, and I'm going to give it to Cline and 3.5 Sonnet and see if we can get a better code. I'm going to give it the template here. I'm still going to give it that, but I'm going to see if we can actually fix, the abomination that Trae made for me. So I just have a new window here in VS Code, and we are using Cline. So if you just go to your extensions and search Cline, it's this one right here. Just go ahead and install that, and you will get this. And one thing I really like about Cline is you can auto-approve things up to a point, which is great. So it makes the process a lot quicker and smoother, because with Trae, it was all or nothing. You either gave it all the permission or you had to give it no permission. And so you had to sit here for a long time and twiddle your thumbs while it was building. So anyways, I'll stop that rant. Go watch that video. Don't worry about this. All the shenanigans that this worked on. Okay, so everything should be there. And now what I'm going to do is, since I haven't changed this prompt from the last video, I'm just going to copy it again. Go back into VS Code. I'm going to make sure I'm on plan. Oops, plan. So when you're using Cline, make sure you're always on plan to start. This is key. If you go to act, it'll just start doing things. So you want to make sure you're on the same page with your AI before you just start letting it have full control. So I'm just going to paste this in here. Do I want to say anything? You know what? I'm just going to let it look at the file structure and see what it thinks. So you can see it's just it goes through all the files, and you see how much faster this is compared to the Trae video. I mean, granted, this is costing me money as opposed to Trae was free, and it does notice that a lot of stuff is already done. And then you see it goes right into this implementation. So you can see it created this language structure. That's interesting. Dynamic page generation, services, locations. Interesting. And see, this one's actually going to create icons. So it'll actually create the icons, which Trae didn't do. It created some, but they weren't that good looking. Okay, mobile optimization. I didn't even check to see if that other site was mobile on Trae. So this says we'll need to carefully manage a static generation of 56 plus pages. Wow. So I say we just hit act and let it roll. So all I'm gonna do is hit act, and let's see what happens. Like I said, what's the worst that could happen? And like I mentioned on the Trae video, Trae does not show like the automatic updating like this does. So at least I know it's doing something. And I wanted it to have an error just so I could show you guys how fast it fixes the errors. See it do it right away. See, look, it says I see an error because of something, and it's already fixing the error. And sometimes it'll fix the error and create a new error. It'll fix it right away. That was the big thing that Trae was not doing. It created errors, and then it just started moving on to the next project and moving on to the next project. And then when we first tried to open the web page, it was an error. And then the second time, it was an error. The third time, it was an error. And I think it was 5 or 6 times it finally corrected itself, but it still gave me a ton of errors. And as you saw in this one, it corrected itself right away. So you can see we're already up to 35 cents. This is not cheap. And see, it's already creating a utility file for generating SVG icons. This is just so cool. I'm sorry, this is just so cool. I am wondering though, when it starts creating the service pages, is it going to overwrite my pages, or is it going to create new pages? That'll be interesting. So it looks like it's updating the hero component, which will be used on all pages. Awesome. Now it's creating the service one with all the different services on it. As you can see, it's going crazy over there. Now it's creating a service list. I mean, all of this stuff Trae did not do. Trae literally started with the first service, kind of went off of that, and that's all it created. And then it just kind of like stopped working. See, I love how it's creating actual components instead of just trying to slam things onto the websites like Trae was doing. You know, Trae was creating individual pages with the stuff. With Cline and Sonnet, and the way it's all working is it's creating the sections. So when you create your main page, you just pull all these sections from all the sections onto the main page. I hope that makes sense. I don't know. Look at, they're even putting an FAQ. So I'm wondering if this is actually going to create the 56 or 7 pages that it said it was going to do. That's going to be crazy. That's going to be really crazy. Let's see what happens. And I'd like to mention we're almost at the dollar mark, and it's been about 8-9 minutes so far. Now, I do get worried when Cline starts making massive code like this, it's probably going to error itself out. I mean, we're almost at 300 lines of code now. I wouldn't be surprised if this errors itself out. Okay, now we're at 400 plus lines of code. This is probably going to be the most expensive API call. We just hit 500 lines of code. Wow. There's no way that was only 15 cents to create all that. Oh, see, now we got the truncated. So this is one issue that I do run into, is when it decides to make huge code. Sometimes it messes up right here and it will get in a death loop. It still looks like there's issues. But see, like I was saying though, with Trae, when there was issues, it didn't do anything. When I'm in Cline, it goes, oh, look, there's still issues. Let me fix it. And so now it's going in there and cleaning it up again. But once again, this does get costly when it keeps having to fix its same mistakes over and over again. But I mean, look, we're at 15 cents, 4 cents. That was 10 cents. I mean, we're at $1.23. We're almost 15 minutes into this. I can't believe though how big of a code it can make now. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, this thing's over 600 lines of code and it's still going. So now it's going to try to simplify it. So now it's deleting certain things. It looks like it's getting rid of, creating a simplified version that focuses on the most important functions and completes the get location specific areas function. So yeah, it looks like it's getting rid of a lot of stuff and removing stuff, even though I do still see some errors, because you can see up here, this is like the code. So this is where the errors are, these little red dots. And as you can see up here, there's some red dots, but these could get fixed because of this stuff. So those could go away. Could. And just like that, it fixed it. Now it's green. Wow. Okay, so now we're creating dynamic pages for the service and locate combinations. We'll need to create a directory structure. We'll need to create a directory structure for all these pages. So I would like to mention that we're now at $1.71 and we're about 17 minutes. So it's about 10 cents a minute right now, I think. Let's see, it found an error right away and it fixed it, removed it. So now it's creating a root page that redirects to the default language. I don't know, whatever. Do your thing, man. Now, there are a lot of things I am noticing as it's going in the code that I would probably want to fix before it finishes, just because I don't know where some of this stuff is actually going. It's just flying through a lot of these. But once again, that's what you're getting out of this. You're getting like a 90% website. You know, you're not going to get 100% website. You know, I'm sure if you try to make things smaller, you know, maybe less pages, it could do that. My only issue right now, too, is we are getting close to that context window. And when that happens, all of this, it's going to have to kind of start over. So hopefully it slows down for a minute so that context window will go back down. Oh yeah, we just hit the $2 mark at 20 minutes. But this right here is the main reason I love working with the Cline as opposed to Trae, because Cline sees the issues right away, fixes it. You know, it says there was an issue, it fixed it, it still says there's an issue, so it's going to rewrite the entire page. Okay. But I mean, it just doesn't stop. Okay, I don't know why it's going through this whole language thing. I probably should have looked into that better. I didn't tell it to create 2 different languages. And one nice thing too, after it does everything, you can see there's these checkpoints. So if something really sucks, you can actually compare or restore the original versions, and you can compare the 2 versions to see if there's anything you want to change yourself. So that's one nice thing too. I mean, every single one of these API requests has one. So if you notice something, you can go back, compare it, and you can even ask Cline, be like, hey, compare this with the old one, and, you know, I like this old one better, and it'll fix it. Now, if you did notice, too, somewhere during that time, the context window did go back down, so now we're back. So now it's back down to 125K, and I'm talking about this right here in case you're wondering. It says context window. So if it hits the 200K mark, it'll basically kick me out of this chat and we'll have to create a new chat. I've only had it happen to me a few times. The only thing I can think of is in the prompt here. I mean, I do have languages, and I think there was a comment about language. So it's basically preparing for if I were to tell it to make like this website in Spanish, it could easily just add to that. So, I mean, that's a good thing, right? Or say they wanted me to get this translated into another language. it's already creating the file structure and everything. So if I were to, then come back and say, hey, make me a Spanish page, it already has everything set up. It would basically just copy everything in a new language. So I see what it's doing, but this is probably a pointless part of this that you probably don't need to do. It still blows my mind though. I mean, look at that, 500 plus lines of code it's already written. I think when I first started goofing around with this, if it got like above 100 lines of code, it usually would freak out. Now we're writing 500-600 lines of code, and that's just... And so now it's redoing my header. It just redid the CSS file. I think this last one, yeah, see it didn't create one. It basically changed the other one I had. And now it's editing the header component. And then once again, you see it saw an error. It fixed it. Now, one thing I will have it do when it's finally done playing around, I will have it check for unnecessary files, because I still think there's a lot of Trae files on here that it could probably get rid of. But I'll wait till the end to do that. And also, I'd like to mention that we are 26 minutes in. We're at $3.35, and I still have yet to have to do anything. It's done everything on its own. When I first started playing with like VS Code and Cline and using all the other different LLMs, I mean, my entire file structure, everything would be red. And I'd sit there and, can you fix that? And it would just go through this loop of trying to fix one thing and then making another thing worse. And it's so nice to see. It's so nice to see everything green. It sees the error, it fixes it. It creates this, it fixes that. It updates that, it fixes that. We just passed the 30-minute mark at this. I'm at $4 cost. And once again, I have yet to touch anything. It's done this all on its own for the last 30 minutes. That's crazy. I'd like to mention too how you actually added the use client directive, which that used to be a huge issue with using these AI IEDs. Was you almost had to always go in to put use client, or else your stuff never worked. And most people don't know about the use client. And I'm sure that's where a lot of people get held up when they're using these, because it doesn't add stuff like use client. So it's crazy. I just noticed that it created actually a pricing table. That'll be interesting. Now, I would like to bring up, we just finally hit the $5 mark, $5.10, and we're at 36 minutes so far, and I still have yet to touch anything. This has done everything on its own completely. I haven't had to approve anything. It's done it all on its own. So let's keep going. I think now it's reading all the files. It's been sitting here for a minute. It hasn't done anything. But I think it's reading all of its files and going back over its game plan. We'll see what happens. All right, so we just hit the 40-minute mark. I'm at $5.75. I still have yet to tell it to do anything. I've just been sitting here watching it. That's all I've been doing. I haven't had to tell it to fix anything, change anything, update anything, give it approval. I mean, every time it finds an error, it fixes it. So let's just let it run. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so it looks like we're just passing the $6.50 mark. There it is. Oh, we finally got our first error. And now it's actually trying to run NPM, but you can see right away it says, oh, I see the errors. Let's fix it. See, like if you watch the Trae one, Trae just tried to run NPM build, and it was like, well, why am I getting errors? This sees the errors and goes, oh, wait. So it noticed there was an issue. So now it's updating something. I was hoping to see a page. We're 43 minutes in, $6.65. I was hoping to see a page. All right, so we're at the 45-minute mark now of this build. And I thought a few minutes ago we were going to see a page finally, but it did find a bunch of errors. I knew it would finally. And it's gone through, and now it's fixing all those errors. So hopefully I'll be able to see a page soon. That'll be nice. And this is one thing I love to see, is it's now checking the pages for errors. Let's check this page. Let's check this page. Oh, look, we found an issue. Let's correct it. And once again, I still have not touched anything. I mean, I could proceed while running, but I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to let it. Like I said, I have not approved anything or told it to do anything else since my initial prompt. And I noticed we just hit $7. So what's funny is it's actually fixing a lot of the errors that Trae did not fix. So now it's actually fixing Trae AI's errors. Because remember how I said like apostrophes were not escaped, and that's why all those files were read? Well, Cline's going in, fixing them. You can even see right here, the build is now working, but there are some warnings about unescaped entities. It's fixing them. Trae didn't even, it was like, I'm out. So it looks like at the 48-minute mark, $7.40. I think it's actually loading the page. It's made almost 80 pages. I think we have a page. Should I click on it? All right, the page is loading in the background. And here's our page. We do have an error. I don't understand. That's still not working. Oh, carpentry has a page, electrical repairs, maintenance, plumbing, repairs, EV charger. I should have gave it more pictures. That's on me right there. I definitely should have given it more pictures. Did it double the footer? So we got a double footer there. Got to fix that. And I love how the navigation bar up here is clear, like see-through, and the minute you start to scroll, it changes color. That's so cool. I didn't tell it to do that. Now, this is something Cline does do with Claude 3.7 now, is it actually wants to go to the website itself, which you could skip this if you want, but it's really cool because it'll load the website and it'll actually check things. But it'll actually go through and check things and see how, and it'll go in there and it'll say, hey, I see there's an error. Let me go fix that. Or it'll be like, you know, I noticed this button was in the wrong place. So, it went away too fast. It mentioned something about an error and then it just went away. So I would like to mention too, we are now at the 50-minute mark, $7.78. Right now, it's going through the website itself. It did pop up. It did notice the error. It logged it. I'm just letting it do its thing. I still have yet to approve anything or change anything yet. There's some things I want to change, but we're not there yet. Now, I will mention, though, if you are at this point in your build and it is doing this thing in the browser, this does take a minute. It does a lot of things. Right now, it's only on step 3 of 3, but it'll go to step 4, step 5. I've had it go all the way to like step 15. So see, now it's reading another page. So it says, let's click on carpentry. So like I said, it's going into the page and making things actually work. So you can see, let's scroll the page. I mean, this is just so cool. It's actually checking to see if the page works. And so it's probably going to go through most of the main pages to make sure links are working, things are loading. I'm really hoping it finds the double footer thing. I mean, I think that was one of the errors that it found, but I can't see it because... Oh, what's it doing? What's it doing? So now it's clicking on the locations. I mean, if you look right here, see, it says, great, now we're looking for this. So it goes to that page. You know, and it'll literally go through the entire website, and it's so freaking cool. It's almost like it's crawling the website, looking for issues, looking for connection issues, which, like I said, Trae did not do. It was like, here you go, fix it. And so now it's going to close the browser. I love how I tell it's in PowerShell, and it still doesn't do PowerShell commands. And then it's, oh, let's use the correct PowerShell command. Yeah. So it made 77 pages. We're at the 55-minute mark, $8.55 into this. It's just doing all these crazy checks that I don't know what it's doing, but it's fun to watch. So we have 7 services and 8 locations, so we should have 56 service location combinations. Oh, I actually have to do something. I'll hit yes. That's the first thing I've had to actually do. I don't know what it wants to do. I just hit yes. So this is the only issue with Cline, is it forgets to close the original ports, and so now it's going to have to open 3001. Sometimes it knows to fix it. So now it wants to look at the website again. Yeah, so 55 minutes in, I finally had to actually do something. I mean, granted, I had to approve it a few times so I could look at the browser, but the first thing I actually had to do was pretty much 55 minutes into it. I had to hit yes for something. Which, once again, I could give it the permission to do that. There's only so much permissions I want to give it right now. Because when you go to this auto approve, I mean, like I said, you can pretty much, like, I could tell it to use the browser whenever it wants. I can tell it to do notifications, and yeah. So here we are, 57 minutes in at $9. and it's basically saying that it's done. So all in all, that's already a better looking site. Still didn't fix the double headers and this footer, or the double footers here. We still have an error. So I think that's a whole deal with the client thing that we need to fix. I mean, it does have an FAQ. I want to see if I can find that double footer. So we just hit the 1 hour mark. We're at $9.36. Right now it's trying to go into certain random websites here. It's still not seeing that error though. I was hoping it would see that, which means I probably should just go fix it myself. So I'll just keep that there. I'll let it do its thing. So I'm just going to copy this whole entire error, and then we'll go back into here. Now, since we're pretty much done with this side of life, I'm going to go back to plan, and then I'm going to paste this and then hit enter. Oh, I didn't tell anything about it. I just gave it to it. So see, I give it the error. I put it back on plan, and it's basically discussing how to fix the error. And you know what? You fix it. So I'll just go back to act and let's see if it fixes it. It's going through all those files and looking for that specific error. And see, now it actually saw another error. While it was looking for something else, it found another error. So I would like to mention we just hit the $10 mark at 1 hour and 3 minutes. And I mean, I think we have a pretty decent start to a website right here. It definitely looks better than we got to fix that. It definitely looks better than the Trae one. And see, like I said, when it gets in this little long loop thing that it does, I'm guessing it's reviewing a bunch of files again. I mean, there is a lot of files now in this, so I'm guessing it's going through those. This one still shows an error. And sometimes though, I've said, hey, there's an error on this file, and it says, oh, that error is only for pre-production. When you put it in production, that error will cancel itself. I mean, this is just like I said, if you've never built a website and you want to see how websites are built, I mean, this is absolutely this is turning into a bad hobby of mine, is building websites, random ones. So now it's fixing the footer. I'm curious if that's actually going to fix our footer issues. I'm afraid to even look. No. So now it's updating. Still have the error, still have a double footer. So I will give it that error when it's done playing around. Oh, it saw some issue. Now it's changing something. See, I think it finally found a lot of the Trae AI issues again. It's starting to find those again, and it's going through them now, and it's getting rid of them. It's changing things. Did it get rid of the double footer? Hey, look at that. I mean, I still don't like the way this looks. I mean, I think this should be separate from the footer, or maybe implemented a different way. What do you guys think? Now, did it change it like on other pages though, is the question. Oh, wow. Oh, we had an issue. So that's the first API issue I've had at 1 hour and 7 minutes. Let's just try to resume it and see what happens. Basically, once again, it's going through the website in a headless browser to see if things actually work. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to. It's going to cost you probably 10 to 50 cents to let it do this. So basically what it's doing is it's going through the actual website. It's clicking on things. It's looking for things. So like, let's click on learn more. So now it's clicking on learn more on the carpentry one. So it's clicking that. It's trying to see if it goes to the right page. It uses correctly without any hydration errors. So it fixed the hydration problem. Just needs to drink more water. Bad joke. So now it's going to close the browser. It should give me a green chat, unless it fixed something that I didn't realize it was going after. Maybe it did. Okay, so once again, this is one of the issues I have with this, is it doesn't see if there's already one running, and it tries to run a new one, so now it's on 3001 instead of 3000. I mean, let's click on random links ourselves. Awesome. We got FAQs, contact page. I mean, this is not a bad website. This is definitely, where I think Trae got me about a 45-50% website. This is closer to a 90% website. Where now it would just be fine tuning. Like, this is where you would work with the customer. Like, hey, here's the website. Let me know what you think. To me, this is good enough to give to a customer. I mean, maybe me personally, I would probably change just a few more things, and then I'd have their name right. I think their name is all one word, Wham Bam. But I mean, all in all, I mean, I would have no issues giving this to a customer. and saying, I built this. Now, how come this one shows on here? So that's interesting. Okay, so it does show on there. Oh, that's one of the things that it fixed. Yeah. So yeah, they can click. So what happens if you click on monument? So see, basically what it did is it created SEO pages based on the name. Now, I probably should tell it to fix the slug of the page to match better. But I mean, this would be an SEO page. I mean, it's for monument, and everything on here says monument. So if we go to, so like once again, we go to Falcon, we have maintenance services in Falcon. And once again, this is all very SEO, which is very good for the SEO. I mean, I'm happy. What's it trying to do? Anything? Okay, so we are at 1 hour and pretty much 15 minutes into this. We have spent $11.03 to create pretty much a 90% done website. Is this perfect? No. Does it have some issues we probably should look into? Yes. This is a heck of a lot nicer. I mean, go watch that Trae video to see what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm happy with this. Like I said, I would not be afraid to give this to this customer and say, here's where I'm at. Let me know what you want. I mean, like, I would probably work on getting the form set up correctly with like a Superbase or Mongo or something. I can't think of the word. Email, the email thing. But I mean, all in all, for 1 hour and 15 minutes and $11, this is great. I'm happy. So that's all I got for you this time. Let me know what you think. Give me your thoughts and opinions. Do you think there's anything I could do to make this better or worse? Once again, I will leave a link down below for the prompt template. And yeah, you guys have a good one.